In episode 8, Peter drives Solomon to an undisclosed location so that Solomon can call his boss and set up a meeting. But there's something that Solomon wants to discuss with Peter. It's whether or not he knows the name of the guy that Peter killed back in Thailand. Of course, Peter doesn't, and Solomon knows everything about Alice. And that's kind of the point. Solomon knows who he took the life of, but Peter, he doesn't care. To him, that wasn't a name, that was a number. But that number obviously had friends, family, people that cared about him. As they walk to the location where Peter is going to meet with Solomon's boss, Solomon does make it clear that he's walking into a situation where there are a few people there who would like to speak to Peter about the life that he took in Bangkok. The tension gets broken up when Solomon's boss shows up. And it's pretty clear from the jump that Peter doesn't think too much of this guy, because the guy is a glorified middleman who just buys information and then resells it to the highest bidder. But the guy says, no. I didn't resell Foxglove to the highest bidder. I sold it to the person who would be most effective at completing the job. Peter asks, why would you do that? And he says, well, I guess you have to ask them if you find them in time. And I'll tell you where they are, depending how much it's worth to you. What this guy wants is a case file from the United Nations. It's going to force Peter to have to break into the United Nations, find the case file, which is located on a computer. But it's not just on any computer, it's on the Secretary General of the United Nations computer. So this is a pretty important case file. If Peter brings him the file, he'll give Peter the location of where they're holding Rose and, more importantly, where they're trying to make chemical weapons. Again, though, the guy threatens the life of Rose. And that's when Peter realizes this really isn't about the file. It's about the fact that if Peter does this job for this guy, whoever he is going to essentially own Peter. In a way, this is Peter swapping his life for Rose's. Peter at this point doesn't have a ton of options, so he's going to accept this guy's deal and try to figure out the other stuff later. As soon as he gets alone, he calls the one person he feels like could get him access to the United Nations, and it's Nora. First thing he does is apologize, because he knows that she doesn't want to hear from him at the moment. Nora agrees to help, but she tells him, I need something from you, and I can only ask for it in person. So meet me at this location. And of course, the reason why Nora wants to meet in person is because she's planning on handing Peter over to Javid. When they eventually do meet a little while later, Peter just puts it out there. He apologizes for what he did, but he says, I need your help to save Rose. It's not just about that, though. This has all been about stopping a chemical weapon. And if I can stop it, it's going to save a lot of lives. He tells her he needs to get in the United Nations, and if she helps him, he can take her to her mother that night. And Nora thinks it's more lies, but Peter says no, it's not. To put an end to the argument, Peter just calls up Sami and he says, hey, put Nora's mother on the phone. And he does. And Nora's mother says, Nora, I'm in New York. And that is a huge relief to Nora. She realizes at this point that she was played by Javid. Now that she knows her mother is safe, she has no interest in helping Javid, and she does want to help Peter. More importantly, she really wants to help Rose. Peter gives her the phone and says, just keep the phone and call Sami when you're done. He'll pick you up. Hell, he's probably tracking the phone anyway. Peter's not oblivious to the fact that he's got people looking for him, i.e. Catherine, and if Catherine's looking for him, pretty good chance that Sami's looking for him as well. Back to the topic at hand, though, getting Peter into the UN, Nora is able to do it, but there are some issues. The biggest one being that Javid and his men are outside. But Peter knows that he can take care of that. He hands Nora a taser, and they walk out, acting like Peter has no idea he's walking into this trap. He plays dumb, saying, Nora, what the hell is going on? Until he's surrounded by Javid and two other men. A fourth guy takes Nora back to their HQ. But Javid bringing two guys to this fight, it wasn't enough. Peter had a weapon. He started swinging that baton, injuring all of them and trying to get away. The problem is Peter didn't do a knockout punch. Javid was injured, but he got up and then he started firing shots into the van that Peter was trying to get away from. Peter crashed the van, and that allowed Javid to catch up to him. Peter and Javid once again get into a physical altercation, which Peter wins, and he flees. As for Nora, she used the taser to get away. Nora, however, headed right to the embassy to get Peter his access to the UN. She put the information in, she started printing the badge, and then she heard footsteps, so she was forced to hide under the ambassador's desk. Those footsteps came into the room, looked around for a bit, and then they looked under the desk and saw Nora. And the person was the ambassador. It was this moment where the ambassador realized that the leak was Nora. Nora, however, notices that on the desk is that French report that they got from Solomon. This is when Nora puts it together, why they wanted that French report in the first place, and why, more importantly, the ambassador has taken a keen interest in it. It's because his daughter is on that report. The ambassador is simply trying to protect his daughter by getting her off the list and then handing it over to his superiors, because the names on that list are going to be hunted down and brought back to Iran and punished. The ambassador, realizing that his daughter really didn't do anything wrong, she just fell in love with a guy who happened to be French, wants to protect her, but it is against the law. And Nora cuts a deal with him. She says, look, if you let me go, I'll take this list to the French embassy. And I'll tell them, you got to warn everybody on this list to get out. They're coming for you. That'll include your daughter. This will allow you to have plausible deniability. You'll say that the traitor did it. They'll never think anything of it. They'll just think that the traitor was doing traitorous things. It's a really good deal for the ambassador, and he gives Nora a 10-minute head start. When Nora leaves the embassy, she doesn't realize it, but she's being watched by Sami, who calls up Catherine and says, hey, I've got Nora. She's leaving the embassy. What do you want me to do? And Catherine says, don't do anything. Just follow her. See if she leads us to Peter. But when Catherine got that call, she was already headed to Peter's apartment. And when she got there, Peter was there. He knows that he messed up, but he says, Catherine, you got to trust me on this. Solomon led me to his boss, and he told me he would tell me who he sold Foxglove to, and when he does, you'll be my first call. Catherine understands this predicament that Peter finds himself in, but she says, help us the right way. And Peter screams back, there is no right way. There's this way. You guys have no leads. This is our only option of finding Rose and, more importantly, finding Foxglove. Peter tries to walk away, and Catherine pulls a gun on him. She tells him at this point she's got to take him in. To which Peter says, if I spend the rest of my life in jail for doing the right thing, I can live with that. Peter is then able to get close enough to Catherine to disarm her, lock her in a room, and get away. He then has to go meet up with Nora to get his UN badge, but she says, little change of plans, I'm now coming with you. But as for Foxglove, they are in a discreet location. You've got Dr. Cole and Rose in the mobile lab with Dr. Cole's family sequestered. Marcus is calling the shots, and Tomas is trying to rein everything in, but he's failing miserably at it. Rose and Dr. Cole are trying to stall as long as they possibly can, but Marcus is very, very impatient. At some point, though, Tomas realizes that Rose is not actually working with Dr. Cole. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. At first, Tomas tries to play assassin. He tries to be Tommy Toughnuts with her, but Rose can tell that Tomas is not really like the others. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. She begs him to help them stop this. And Tomas, realizing she's right, realizing that Marcus has taken this thing way too far, agrees. He secretly talks to the doctor. He lets him know that he's planning on getting him and his family out of there safely, but things don't go like that. Marcus, trying to speed up production, brings out Dr. Cole's wife and stabs her, letting him know that she's not getting medical attention until they have their first vial of the chemical weapon. This definitely puts a pep in the step of Dr. Cole. He does create a small vial, which Marcus just acts like is any old drug. And Dr. Cole lets him know, dude, you need to be careful with that. That could kill everybody in this room. But there's only one person that Marcus wants to kill. It's Tomas. He gets Tomas in a room alone, and they start arguing about who actually is in charge. It ends when Marcus throws the vial, it breaks, and he locks Tomas in the room, and Tomas finds out that this chemical weapon is no joke because he dies. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.